And right, so we went through quite a bit. And if you've been on with us all day here, and there was a question that came in from an anonymous attendee. I'll make sure I answer that here as well. But we talked about the four pillars and how you can be using automation and AI for people. I shared that Justin Pezik article that Justin put together and how he essentially 20x'd the number of clients that were applying to his positions. I know every time that I've talked with Justin, where, I'd say, could you be on this implementation call or on the virtual summit or whatever it might be? He's like, I have another interview. So he's just constantly interviewing. We shared that with you. I also went through Claude about how you can use Claude to rewrite an ad for a physical therapist, especially if you're going on Indeed. The other thing that was asked in the questions, but I didn't answer live, but I did answer it within the Q&A was, what is working on LinkedIn? What we've seen work the best is one-to-one messaging with your people who are your first or second contacts. And we just simply say, and by the way, I generated this iteration from AI. I think I came up with like 25 or 30 different messages that we tested on LinkedIn. And in the end, this is the one that won. And I would say something like, hey, Deandra, we have a full-time opening at the Hershey office. We're looking for a full-time Pennsylvania licensed physical therapist. Do you know anybody who's looking? And that was it. Just very simple, straightforward. That was by far our best response rate. And what would happen is even if they said no, sometimes they would make a referral, or they would circle back anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months later and say, yeah, actually, I'm looking, right? Can you tell me more about the job? So we talked about how you can be not only more effective, but also buy some time back with people. The next one, and by the way, just to throw in everything that Prompt was doing and that Carl, talked about with Alex, and the team at Prompt and Prediction Health and that session, that would also, a lot of people are using that AI scribe as retention, right? Everybody wants that work-life balance. All of our DPTs want that work-life balance. This is a way where you can help them move in that direction. In regards to finance, we had Bob and Lance on, and we also talked about within regards to marketing and the cash pay services, how you can improve your bottom line and ultimately your profitability and your margin of safety. In operations, I shared a couple things with you. One was that process on selling from Doug, and also got the video, right? So we can use AI automation technology to have better operations. You also got some of that with the Bob Kowalik and Lance Gross session. You also got some of that with on the Prompt session as well with Alex, who's like probably the best process person I've ever talked with in all the private practice PT from an owner perspective. And then finally, we got into the marketing. So, and then we went through how to solve consistency, right? Where most of us have this inconsistency. And this is going to sound crazy, but even if you have a waiting list, I think that many of our problems can be solved with creating more demand for our services. And I learned this from Bob years ago. It was on a session just like this, I'm going to guess 8 to 10 years ago. And he said something along the lines of, it is insane to have no margin and then have people on your waiting list who are your best payer or who have the highest willingness to pay if you're offering a cash service. And I believe that to be true, right? So if we have a payer, I think at one point our lowest payer was $48 cap to visit, right? And we have another payer that is easy to work with, and we know we're going to average $100 a visit. Most of us want to do this, right? We're trying to balance relationships with business math, and we just play really bad business math. And we want to help everybody agnostic of their willingness to pay or not. That gets us in a lot of trouble, right? So we should constantly be thinking about, how can I increase demand for my services? Because on the back end, that's what gives us the flexibility to drop a low payer, to add a cash-based service comfortably, to expand a clinic like Lance had shared comfortably, to add another clinic, right? all of the options that we get on the back end come from first creating demand for the service. It gives us confidence in hiring that next person, that once we get the AI, that really good copy into the market on Indeed, on LinkedIn, et cetera, that once that clinician joins us, we're going to be able to bring them on with some predictability and know that within 30 days, we're going to fill their schedule, right? So I constantly think about this. I think it is an error to put it on the back burner, unless you're a solo clinician just drowning right now in a waiting list. You can even start to go through and create a little bit better waiting list. So we went through this idea on consistency and automating repetitive tasks. So wherever you can work yourself out of a job with automation and technology, you can do that. And we went through three specific things. One is getting hand raises, right? And here we talked specifically about reactivations. You also got a little bit from hand raises with workshops and cold traffic marketing. They were the two focuses, and that was the session with Sarah and Charlotte. Converting over to an appointment, there we talked a lot about Emily and everything that's happening there, or Emily or Lauren, or I forget some of the other names that people have used. And then the third thing that we talked about was improving finances. We went through market message media match and how most of us mess up the messaging and how we can quickly, I showed you an example with Claude, and how that puts all of us on the same playing field now with copy. And then, what we have to do next, we have to take that copy, we have to have it in a system, we have to deliver that message and then follow up, right? And for me and many of us, like Sean, like Alex, like other owners that have been on here today, we use Breakthroughs all-in-one system here to manage all of that, the hand raises and the conversion over to a patient, the tracking, the reporting, and everything else. We went through some wins here. You not only saw stories like this of people that have succeeded, you also heard live owners sharing exactly what they're doing. We did spend a lot of time on Emily. You saw a live demonstration. We talked about how she can be on 24/7. She always responds within 60 seconds. And really, she bridges the gap comfortably and safely until your team can schedule an appointment. We also talked about the importance of that and how much time that's saving, that on average, if a practice was spending 12 hours, they're now doing the same exact amount of work in 30 minutes. We talked about ways that we can improve our finances with better marketing in terms of attracting more of our best payers, having more patients buying our cash services. Yeah, I'll just share a quick win with us. I don't know if you can hear this slight hissing behind me, but we have a hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We didn't even talk about that today, but we have a hyperbaric oxygen therapy clinic right here. We just had our best quarter ever. We just had our best week ever, our best day ever, and that was $12,000 in 2 days. So how can we have more people, if we have a patient list, buying our cash-based services? Sean and Matt gave you a lot of ideas there, along with Mark, Garrett, and Doug. And then we talk about, what's the importance of just filling that gap and how that's the number one profit drain in all of private practice PT and how much that's costing us. We went through this example, and I think the range of answers that we had were, just filling up your slow season, your slow months twice a year. So in this example, if you have 2 slow months a year and you're adding an extra $15,000 a month, that's $30,000 a year, and that's likely all margin, right? For some of us, unless we have like an accordion staffing issue, for most of us, we've already paid that expense. If we look back to September, we've already paid for the expense. Could you have seen 15 more patients with the overhead, the cost to provide care that you already had? For most of us, it's a minimal increase in cost to see those extra patients, and it's very valuable for us to solve that. In this example, $30K a year. I shared the personal stories with you, ultimately getting to the solution and what that meant for our practice in year one. The first time we solved this in 2011, it was worth $200K in a single year to our single site clinic. Rather than losing $100,000, we made $100K in Q4, and that was in profitability. And what that has meant to us as we've opened other de novos, et cetera. We went through the slow season, and then I rolled out this offer. By the way, if you have a question, feel free to put this in the Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer it for you. We talked about, this consistency and ultimately an offer as well. And I thought through, how can I help the owner who doesn't have time, but they're looking for consistency? And we put together this offer, which was the automated email and text campaigns, where all of that is done for you with a single click of a button. You can schedule an email and text campaign to go out. We talked about the unlimited AI conversion agent for 3 months, working with Emily, the coaching and support to build your marketing calendar. And I shared the template of my own marketing calendar of how we think about going through the slow season. And then we talked about the coaching and support to help you build and implement, plug and play that same thing into your practice. And then we also shared the announcement that we're now integrated with Prompt, and that we would, Raintree is next, and then everybody else. We went through this automated text campaign and everything that is about. We talked about the time savings here with Emily. You heard from Josh, you heard from other owners that were on here as well today. What are we missing? Everybody that, hops on the call with Morgan, you're going to get this template. And again, those of you, when you go through the onboarding, we're going to coach and support you through building this out. The other thing that we had mentioned, this Prompt integration, where I just shared, it's Prompt, Raintree, and then everybody else. So not only is it going to save you time right now with the integration, but in the future, and yes, somebody asked the question, do you need to be with Prompt or Raintree to do breakthrough? You do not. Myself and all the other owners, we've been doing it for 10 plus years without integration. You don't have to have that integration. It's only going to make things better, only going to save us more time. Plus, we're going to be able to do some higher, more sophisticated features in the future, like going straight to an appointment, right? Where Emily's having the conversation, and that the patient is scheduled directly to an appointment with nobody having to call from our office. Keeping track of patients as they go through. If you have a list of 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 past patients, some of those patients are coming in for care. Some of those patients are graduating care today. Some of those patients you haven't seen in 3 months. Some of those patients you haven't seen in 3 years. And we want to have different messaging for all of those people, right? So that will happen in the future, where we have that unique messaging based on the person, and then also the ROI reporting. Most practices that I talk with, they have no idea where their new patients are coming from. It's a ballpark. Might be, what percentage of your new patient flow each month is from reactivations? Oh, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 50%. Well, that's a pretty big range. Would it not be great for your marketing, for your growth, if you knew exactly where your new patients are coming from? And that is coming as well. There is reporting within Breakthrough today. So what's next? Every practice is different. This is the schedule of this discovery call with Morgan. You're going to see where your practice is, get clear where your practice is going, what your goals are, see what this will look like in your practice. You discover exactly what a conversation with Emily looks like, lock in the best price for you. You're going to schedule a call with this guy right here, Morgan. Morgan is awesome. He has been in the industry now for years. He talks with hundreds of owners as a gross estimation. I'm going to guess he talks with 150 to 200 owners every month. And he's been doing this for years. So he knows the private practice industry inside and out. He's going to know the right questions to ask you in terms of where you're at and where you're going, and then also give you very valuable advice on how to get there. He'll share what onboarding looks like, and you'll learn everything that you'd expect to know to get this launched in time for your practice. What you should bring to the call, the EMR you're using, the size of your patient list, how many new patients per month you're at today, and then also what you want to be, what your capacity is. You're going to go to this URL. By the way, I very thankful, saw a ton of people come through already, but you can go to this URL, select an appointment on the calendar with Morgan, go to getbreakthrough.com/growth, where there's also, you can scan the QR code right there and schedule your call with Morgan. This is for private practice owners who want to grow and have a capacity to treat more patients, right? Also for owners that want to mitigate that slow season and just get consistency across the board. How much does this cost? Again, lots of plans. Every practice is different, but the most basic programs start at $399 a month. And again, you can go to that QR code. There is an investment involved for sure, a small investment of time and also an investment of money as well. Go to getbreakthrough.com/growth. And I told you the sob story about how much this cost me over time and how much failure and everything else. I think a loan at one point, just in copy that's within the system, I think that outside investment is 118,000. I think we're over 200K just in copy, right? And you don't have to do that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is already done for you. It's all been solved. You see how Sarah and Charlotte are on top of it in terms of what is working in the market today. So the recommendations, you don't have to go figure this out and test 30 different messages. You get it right off the bat and you can say, this is the best message. My slow season is in January and I'm going to run this campaign in mid-December so that I'm full all January, right? Same exact system we're all using. And you get a huge automated shortcut. Most owners that I talk with that are do-it-yourselfers, which has happened a lot over the years, like, hey, love what you're doing, but I'm going to go try to solve this myself. This is what their life looks like over on the left-hand side, where they're running in 7 different Excel spreadsheets. They have all these different piecemeal software, things that they're trying to get to communicate and they can't figure it out, right? This is one system that is streamlined. And over the year, Carl and the team, the engineering team, they've done an amazing job at bringing you more and more functionality at a lower and lower cost. So that is amazing for us in private practice, that we can truly go out, help more people, reach out to more people, communicate, have massive communication to our patient list and cold traffic. And that in the end, we have more patients that we're able to help, and in the end, saving them from surgery. It's one streamlined place, one hub where we can manage everything. And now what's most exciting is that's communicating with our EMRs. So I had opened this up for questions at the time. I'm going to answer one more question here. So this came in earlier. Side question on Emily. Can it be trained, used as a Q&A for our own staff to use? We face a challenge of the front desk having too many things to remember on insurances, which clinics offer, which specialties, etc. Would be great if front desk could also ask it questions to streamline trainings. The short answer is no. Emily was not trained to do that. However, that is not hard to do, right? And I will definitely take that to Carl and the engineering team if they want to create a front desk GPT. That is, but Emily is not going to help you with that. She's not going to answer those questions. Her main function is to take somebody who's either cold traffic marketing, they're responding to cold traffic marketing, advertising, or somebody who's coming from a text reactivation campaign, and help them to get to the point to schedule an appointment, increase awareness about their pain point or their health issue. And again, it's all roads lead to scheduling an appointment. So that's the design of that specific AI. What other questions do you have? Trying to catch up here. Is there a contract? If so, what if you want to cancel? So that came from Carla. Carly? Okay. Carly, you're going to learn more on the call. There are multiple things, depends what you want to do. Anything that you want to add to that,
No,
Carl?
Yeah. I mean, it really just depends. There are lots of different options. Awesome.
Great.
Glad to hear you did it before. Yeah, this is a little different now since probably you've been there. I think a lot has changed. So I would just recommend having a chat with Morgan and, um, you can get more detailed questions there. We would answer direct if we could. It's just a matter of like knowing, knowing this situation and what you would need. Um, yeah. There was an interesting question before about using the agent to train the staff. I hadn't thought of that before. That's interesting. We wouldn't use this one. We would have to make a different one for it. But this one is trained on those things. So theoretically, you could do it, but it would be weird because they'd keep trying to book an appointment with you.
That's great. What other questions do you have? It looks like quite a few more people came through. Excellent. That's great to see. Yeah, really excited for you to get this in your practice. Wonderful. What other questions do you have? And we have Carl now here as well. So rather than watch me stumble over AI or technology questions, feel free to throw anything out.
Yeah, happy to answer anything you guys have about AI and marketing or yeah, anything at all on that front. Deeper questions on how this agent works.
Really quick before we move into the Q&A, we did do the drawing. We have a winner for the squid compression giveaway. So yeah, Amy Lindley, I see you're still in the attendees list, but yeah, you won the random drawing. We will be in touch via email to work out that. So congratulations. Thank you for staying with us for the whole day.
Love it.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, that's great. So Robert has a question here. Are you considering an AI to help sell therapy equipment to patients? Can I start and then you can clean it up, Carl?
It says PTs, but yeah, is that patients?
Yeah, lowercase is patients.
Okay. I never knew that. That's
Yeah. Great. So Robert, and we've done this in previous events with the cash pay panels, but there are really three ways that you can think about increasing cash pay utilization, right? So if I remember right, you have at the time it was a 1,700 square foot clinic, and you're mainly insurance based, right? And then you're adding cash pay service. Three ways that you can do that. The lowest level, the lowest hanging fruit is the people that are coming in right in front of you. So this is exactly what Sean Weatherston and Matt Conroy were talking about. It's offering the service, or typically it's a trial, or prescribing the cash pay service in that initial eval. The other things, how you can use AI to complement that with your existing patients, are you can talk about AI in your new patient welcome packet or your new patient welcome sequence, like we do with Breakthrough, right? So somebody comes in, they have the eval today, they get a sequence of emails from us that are automated where we can talk about Run DNA and laser and NewFit, et cetera, right? So that's that first tier. The second tier is you can promote the cash pay service and that treatment technology to your past patient list. Again, I shared when I was going through Claude, just had one for NewFit. I wrote an email campaign live with Doug on a webinar that we had done together for Run DNA. Same thing with laser. You can click on a campaign and send an email or text campaign to your past patient list promoting it. The third level, which is the most difficult, but you heard about this from Andy at Whitby, is you can do cold traffic marketing, right? So meta advertising, Facebook, Instagram advertising, marketing your treatment technology there, whatever it is that you might be offering. And Andy did a really nice job talking about not only with the advertising, but then using Emily to have those patients schedule an appointment at his facility.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add there for you, Robert. We have specific campaign. I mean, what's working best, the easiest is just, I mean, text for reactivation. Like it works great. I believe Chad's running text campaigns once a month, and now with the ICA follow up, or sorry, I shouldn't say that, with the AI agent Emily follow up, we've actually trained it to follow up on the cash campaigns as well. So you can have cash specific offers go out via text right now. And the follow up will happen. It will book appropriate appointments. And we've done that several times. Now we're also like you learned, attaching it to some of the cold market campaigns too. So yeah, we're doing that. We plan to train it on any type of by the end of this quarter, I'm pretty sure we'll have it trained on any type of marketing campaign in general, focusing first via text message, then email. Already having done Meta as well, but yeah, all of that ends up being followed up with a text message as well. So hope that answers your question.
Great. Robert says, thank you. What other questions do you have? Deandra, am I staying here for the VIP training?
That is on the schedule, but it's Q&A, so we've got time for questions now.
Great. I was going to share a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to do another commercial break as well.
Okay. Let's do the commercial break and then we'll do the VIP training and Q&A.
Sounds good.
With Weave, with missed call text, if I have a call that is missed that then is met with a text message, I have an individual that knows that they matter to that practice. Texting is important for physical therapy specifically because it meets the consumer where they're at. They don't always have time or want to make time for calls. We want technology to come in and make things easier for us. And for us, we've been able to move very, very quickly as an Inc. 5000 company for 5 straight years as a result of making choices on companies like Weave.
Reimbursements are shrinking, costs are rising, but leading practices are thriving with RunDNA's 3D walking and running gait analysis. This high-value cash-based service boosts revenue while improving patient outcomes. In just 10 seconds of walking or running, the Helix 3D captures precise movement data. Advanced algorithms identify issues and generate targeted programs. Break free from insurance limitations, elevate patient care, build a stronger business. Add Helix 3 to your practice today.
We found Prompt because we were in the process of looking for a company that could match our growth. And we found that Prompt had the technology that could really push us to the next level compared to our prior EMR system.
It's new, it's technology driven, and it's completely changing the way healthcare is going to be done in the future.
Documentation time certainly got decreased from our prior EMR. If you're thinking about how can I look at my business in a better light, talk to these guys at Prompt because they have the answers.
Recovery takes time, strength takes effort, but what if you could do it faster, more effectively, and with real results, both for your patients and your business? This is NewFit, a breakthrough in rehab and performance that's transforming how clinics deliver care, optimize outcomes, and drive revenue. Clinics using the Newbie report higher patient satisfaction, increased referrals, and improved retention. Join the movement. Experience the NewFit breakthrough today.
Hi, I'm Alicia Mahoney, president of BCMS. and running a therapy practice is tough. Staying compliant should make it harder. That's why we built the Compliance Funnel, the all-in-one compliance system for outpatient therapy clinics. Get custom policies, OSHA, HIPAA, Medicare compliance, monthly tasks, employee tracking, and real human support. So you're organized, documented, and audit ready in one secure platform. Scan the QR code to learn more.
I'm a physical therapist and I'm the owner of this practice. Yeah, it looks like you got a broken neck. And my administrative assistant is a full-blown idiot.
No, I told him I'm not going to come in on Tuesday.
But my appointment was at 2:30.
Come here often?
Jim, stop hitting on the patients.
I've violated HIPAA so many times.
If only there was a way I could deal with this virtually.
Spend all my time micromanaging Jim when I should be curing patients or on the golf course.
Hey, Dr. Mike, is your appointment at 3 or 3:30? I kind of forgot.
You're supposed to know.
Oh, 3:30. I think it might be at 3. It's 3:15.
He's getting fired today because we're getting Virtual Rockstar. Virtual Rockstar hires insanely talented people in the Philippines and plugs them into medical practices in the US to cover all the admin stuff you hate.
This guy walks around like he owns the place.
I hear with Virtual Rockstar, they handle marketing, billing, administrative assistant work, and they free you up.
Don't just take it from me. Read some of our 5-star reviews. You got cheese puff dust all over the keyboard again. It frees up practice owners so they can stop drowning and actually run their business or get home before 8 p.m. So now I can get back to doing what I do best. These assistants in the Philippines actually know what they're doing. They're better than Jim.
Can I get your number? Just kidding. I got it in the system right here.
Fire Jim. Get Virtual Rockstar.
Chattanooga is one of the world's largest manufacturers of rehabilitation equipment for treating musculoskeletal, neurologic, and soft tissue disorders. For more than 7 decades, Chattanooga has set a benchmark for innovation, reliability, and excellence through products that contribute to improved treatment outcomes in clinics, training rooms, and home settings. Chattanooga's legacy is rooted in innovation of life-changing technology that has continued today through our commitment to bring the most effective clinical solutions to rehabilitation. From home traction to deep tissue laser therapy, Chattanooga focuses on improving existing products and pioneering new technology that advances treatment outcomes, enabling patients to regain or maintain their natural motion. Move forward with us.
All right, for the 60 some of those of you that are still here, we're going to line up something special here for you. So if you're interested in learning more from Virtual Rockstar, and I know their commercial got a couple compliments today. Great. Chattanooga, Innovus, Weave, Run DNA, Prompt, NewFit, BCMS. Just click the one that, or 2 or 3, however many you're looking to learn from one of our partners. Again, these virtual summits, our events at Breakthrough would not be possible if it weren't for our partners. So we'll keep that up here for another second or two. And then for everybody else, for those of you that have to sign off, awesome. Appreciate you being here. So years ago, back in 2013, 2014, I think the first course that we taught here at Breakthrough was called Killer Marketing. And we also did a book, Killer Marketing Secrets, that I wrote here with Carl and the rest of the team. But really what put us on the map was this direct-to-consumer marketing at a time when private practice wasn't really thinking about marketing direct to the consumer. And I remember going to one of the first association events where I wasn't going in as an owner, a practice owner, I was going in as a representative with Breakthrough. And I remember talking with owners day one, and I would say, hey, how you doing with your marketing? How's it going? And you know how association events are. Nobody's going to reveal how bad we're doing, how much we're suffering. Most of us are kind of suffering on this island all alone. We think we're the only practice in the situation we're in. And so everybody says, oh, I'm doing great. And I would start to talk about what was happening to me in central Pennsylvania with, the 3 hospital systems employing all the physicians in the area. And people would say, oh, that hasn't really affected me yet. I'm doing fine. And I would say, okay, but this is coming. Like, this is going to happen in your area. And again, that was like 2013, 2014. So we started teaching this direct to consumer marketing. And the thing that I asked at that event on day 2 was, what percentage of your past patients, or what percentage of your new patients are coming in from physician referral? So most owners would not admit that they had a problem, but they would admit that 80 to 90% of their new patients coming through at the time were physician-based, and they hadn't really thought about diversifying. And there was some confusion around, did I need direct access or not? The simple answer is no, we don't need direct access to market direct to the consumer. It's just a little speed bump that gets in the way. But you can think about this, pharmaceutical companies do all the time, and you need a script from a doctor to fill a prescription. So what I did was recently, I started going back, looking at the killer marketing material, and then updating it for use with AI, automation, et cetera. This was the first class that I ever taught in the killer marketing series. There are 5, and I just want to go through some of the highlights with you in the time that I think are going to be most valuable for you as well. So, by the way, if you have a question, feel free to answer or ask it within in the chat. Oh, Danielle asked me a really tough question. I'll be happy to answer that in a second. So, wow, really personal. Yeah, so huge information. I'm not going to go through everything here, but yeah, this was the outline of the first 5 sessions. This is session number 1, how to get consistent. Again, we won't be able to go through all these things in the time together here, but I at least want to give you a few things. So one of the first things that we shared at Breakthrough was we figured out these 4 levels or 4 stages of private practice owner. And what you see on your screen is called the transition curve or the learning curve. There are lots of variations of this. Ray Dalio does like a little pigtail, demonstrating the same thing. But in the beginning, stage 1, early stage, we have this uninformed optimism, which, if you think back to when you first opened up your private practice, this was like, oh, I'm just going to rely on high quality of care and word of mouth referrals. And then I'm going to hang out my shingle is what we used to say, hand out a few script pads, and then I'm going to be full, right? And I'm never going to have to worry about marketing again. Well, that's not reality, right? So we now have some experience, and we enter stage 2, which is that informed pessimism. Oh my gosh, high quality of care is not enough, right? Now I have to go out and learn how to market. Now I have to learn and go hire another clinician. Now I have to negotiate my lease terms with my landlord. Now I have to negotiate with this insurance company. Now I have to learn how to work AR. Now I have to learn how to, do all of these other things that we thought if we just provided high quality of care, everything else would take care of itself. So we go on this usually a little pity party, and we hit, stage 3, which is this crisis of meaning. Like, what are we really doing here? And at this crisis of meaning, we have one of 2 choices. We can crash and burn, which is not on this illustration, but that would be, continuing to decline, and be frustrated, or we can start to figure things out and enter stage 4, which is, informed optimism. So now we know better. Now we know how to mitigate, we know how to juggle marketing and personnel and finances and operations and start to grow a practice, right? So that's the learning curve or that transition curve. Stage 1, again, this is when we're starting a new activity. So you might be in private practice for 30 years, but you've never marketed, right? So for you, with regards to marketing, you're in stage 1. And we label this unconscious incompetence, right? And what this is where you don't know what you don't know yet. Marketing consistency, again, is that high quality of care, word of mouth. By the way, I've talked with hundreds of clinicians, if not, well, I think we've had 3,000 clinicians that we've worked with at some point here. And I've never met a clinician who said, I offer 2nd tier quality of care. Every single person thinks that they offer high quality of care. That's not a differentiator, right? So regardless of whether you're a McKinsey therapist or, NIOM or, manual therapist, or you're doing dry needling. It doesn't matter what you're doing, right? Nobody believes that they're less than the highest quality of care in their area. Everybody believes they're number one, right? And you and I know that from experience that that's not gonna, that doesn't carry much weight. I can't say I offer high quality of care and then a ton of patients come and want to see me. It's whimsical, naive, and in the end that, you know, that young clinician or that young practice owner has no control. They don't have a lot of confidence when they hire that next clinician. They don't have a lot of confidence in expanding an existing practice or opening that next practice. Next level up is the major leaguer. And this is where we get conscious incompetence. Now we know what we don't know. And it's usually a deer in the headlights shock, right? Some panic, exhausted feeling. We feel like we're having to reinvent the wheel every month. And for me in the beginning, this was running out and doing physician lunches. And I can remember, I believe in the first 4 months, I did 37 physician luncheons, right? So basically 2 a week. Just running out every single week, multiple times, 2 to 3 times a week to do a physician lunch and meet with doctors. It was all I knew how to do, right? So, and that was very frustrating, honestly. But the marketing was me. I was still trading time for money. I didn't have a system in place. I didn't have automation. I didn't realize how to build a process, how to build a system, and it's really relying on my own hustle. If you're at stage 2, that's really, you know, where what you're doing, and it's tough to get consistency there. Stage 3, next level up, is all-star, and this is where, you know, now you have conscious competence. Now you know how to control your new patient flow. You know how to, you know, drive through and have consistency in that slow season. You know how to handle that. You know how to handle all the other things within your practice, but there's still effort there, right? You have some effectiveness. You feel like you're causal, that you can control and you're confident. But this owner, especially if they're still time starved, they'll say, I need systems, right? I need systems I need a system to handle this. They don't necessarily know how to build that system or know how to fine tune their processes so they have a better, more effective system, but they start to think this. And the final stage, which most of us aspire to across the board in marketing and personnel and finances and operations, is we have this unconscious competence. This is tying your shoe. This is you treating a patient. You probably don't think about how to treat a patient. You could, you know, with your eyes closed, blindfolded, you could do a patient interview. You would have a really good idea about what they have going on 99% of the time, and you would be able to walk through the treatment fairly comfortably without thinking about it, right? You're not walking home thinking about patients the way that you were, say, 20 or 30 years ago when you first got out of PT school. You have a system and team in place with regards to your marketing. You're using technology and automation to save time and money. You're pulling levers. You have consistency. You know, for us, there are times of the year where we might do more with our partners or with our cold traffic marketing. And then times of the year we know it's going to be tougher there, so we do more with our patient list at that time in our reactivations. We're really looking for time freedom, financial freedom. We're looking for choices, and we realize that marketing creates predictable growth. We have those systems in place. And just out of curiosity for you, for those of you that are still on here, which one of these, when we're talking about marketing, do you most identify this? Stage 1, that unconscious competence, unconscious incompetence rookie. Stage 2, conscious incompetence, where now you realize what you don't know. Stage 3, where you have some marketing effectiveness, but you really need systems. Or stage 4, you just have this all figured out and you're crushing. We got some stage 2s here. Fred says stage 3. Stage 2, stage 3, stage 2, 3, 3, lots of 3s. Okay, and then just out of curiosity, if you could wave a magic wand, where would you want to be? Lots of 4s. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go through this fairly quick. This is helpful. So there is a max capacity exercise, and I think it came through with one of the questions to Lance. and we just didn't really dive into it. But you can think about your practice in terms of like boxes, right? And this is getting very business math side. Usually a turnoff for most owners to think about, but we have to play this game because of everything that's going on with reimbursements and cost to provide care. It's kind of foolish to ignore it. So the way that we think about a box is, okay, if I have 600 square feet, I can see for every 600 square feet I can see 60 visits a week, or 1,000 square feet, 100 visits a week. And that's in a 40-hour week. Now, if I'm talking with Deepak, who's in Edmonton, he's going to double that, right? Because of the cost of real estate in Edmonton. They just have to see very high volume. They're open 7 days a week from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. And they're forced to do that because they pay $60 a square foot for their space. But for most of us here in the US, that's kind of the calculation that I think about. Lance talked about this as well. Now, if we're under capacity, right? So let's say we have a 2,000 square foot clinic. We determine that we could be seeing 200 visits a week in that space, and we're at 150, and I have 4 clinicians, right? So we're averaging less than 40 visits a week, 1 patient an hour. That's a bit of a problem for us. So here's the exercise that we go through. How many visits did we have last week? And the example I just gave is 150. What's the max capacity? With that staff in that space, I would say 200 visits a week. What's the difference? In that example, it's 50, right? 200 minus 150 is 50 patients a week, 50 visits a week. And what's our average plan of care? Or what's the average? So if we need 50 more visits a week and we're averaging, let's say 12 visits per new patient per plan of care, then we need 4 more new patients per week, right? So it's the first game that we all want to solve within our marketing, is figure out how to drive those 4 extra new patients each week. For those of us that have a patient list and are not using it, that is where I would start, right? And what is that worth to our practice long term? In that example, if we would be averaging, let's say, $90 a visit, that's an extra $4,500 a week, or $225,000 a year that we're leaving on the table of really cost to provide care that we're paying for, that we're not realizing that care. So for me, I've always been ultra uber aggressive in terms of marketing to want to, I want to capture that. If I've already invested in space and personnel, employment expense, equipment, we want to fill that space as quickly as possible and fill those schedules as quickly as possible. There's another example that you see. For most of us, short-term game that we want to play is solve that slow season, solve that consistency, make it our busiest time of the year. The long term is we want to have a system in place that's consistently producing new patients. And you heard Lance talk about this, where you're getting a gradual rise over time within the space. That's what should be happening. We're going to go through this, skip that. Marketing, a quick and easy way to think about it is positioning. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to ask that. Deanna, I just saw you wrote 4 or 5. That's kind of funny. So what is marketing? Marketing is positioning. If you think about somebody with back pain, right? Think about all the different things that they could do, right? They could come to you for your services. They could go to another physical therapist down the street. They could go to see a chiropractor. They could go to see their DO and get, osteopathic manipulation if their DO is still doing that. They could go to a massage therapist. They could go to their trainer if they're in, a scholastic or collegiate program. They could go buy Thermorap. They could do Aleve or some other over-the-counter medication. They could go to their doctor and ask for a prescription. They could go to their doctor and seek out an injection. Or even some people will, very much position for surgery. They could wear a back brace or one of those, old UPS or the postal worker, I forget what they were called, like the corset. It was a form of a back brace. They could get an inversion table for at home. They could do exercises that they find on YouTube. They could do exercises that they got from their neighbor They could, yeah, I mean, think about all the different things that they could do, right? Marketing is positioning your unique products and services, primarily services for us, against everything else that's available, right? All other treatment options. And effective marketing, it gets potential patients to raise their hand that we covered here today. And then really, when we do it right, it reduces the sales stress on the clinician. So by the time the clinician walks into the room, the person's like, okay, I'm ready to go, right? But first we have to get them to raise their hand, and then we have to ask them really good questions like Emily does before that patient shows up and the clinician walks into the room. There are three main things, and we'll leave it at this, but I want to go over this with you. Three main things that we found that are really the cornerstones of effective marketing within private practice PT. And I'll go through each of these right now. So that market message media match, I talked about it earlier. You have to identify first who is your target market. And I know I was on a webinar with Doug, and I had asked him this. I said, hey, who's buying, who's paying $500 for an 80-minute run DNA session? And he said 38, great question, 38 to 52-year-old women. And getting more specific, 44 years old is the sweet spot. She's running 5Ks. She was a competitive athlete. She took a break. Competitive, like she ran cross country in high school or something like that. She used to run 5Ks. Now she gave that up for 20 years to have kids and raise her kids. And now she's getting back into running. That's who's paying $500. And I was like, that is very valuable to know, right? So we want to identify, right, that the messaging to that demographic, 44-year-old mom who's getting back into running, is way different than let's say 60-year-old who wants to keep running 50 miles a week and has done 100 marathons, right? It's way, way different. It's different messaging. So in order to, make our marketing work, we first have to identify who it is that we're trying to attract. Another one, and I'll go through this just because Andy had mentioned it, was with Whitby, pelvic floor. We do pelvic floor as well. And I can remember when we were developing the pelvic floor workshop and that copy, that there were really three target markets. And we were working with a copywriter, and I said, hey, who are you trying to address here? And she said, well, there are three people we're trying to address. Number one are new or expecting moms with pelvic floor issues. That's number one. Number two is men with prostate issues that have, are now incontinent. They tend to skew older. And the third one is people who are transitioning, going through gender reassignment. And I was like, oh, we have an issue. There are three very different conversations, right? So, and I said, well, let's take a step back here. And this reads like we're trying to talk with three different people at the same time. Let's pick one. And we did. Now we can go out and build funnels for every single demographic, but you can't be everything to everybody. That's the big take-home message from Market Message Media Match. Because the second step is we have to have a conversation with that person. And the best way to do that is from the Robert Collier letter book. And it talks about having a conversation, jumping into the conversation that's already existing in the patient's head, right? So if we're trying to have a conversation with two different people that are thinking about the problem, the pain point in two different ways, we're going to really, really struggle with our marketing. And the only way to have effective marketing is to talk with one person at a time who represents our target market. And the final thing here that must align is the media that they are using. Carl shared this. Right now, reactivations, text is by far the best performing across the entire platform. It's beating email, it beats everything else. We do multimedia approaches with all of our 5 new patient channels, but we only use media that our target market is using, and we use it in the way that they're using it, right? So I'll give you one quick example. We have a rural clinic. It's 2,000 square feet. The population of the town there are 1,740 mailboxes in the area. There are 3,000 people that live in this area. And from that, 1,100 of them are already on our patient list. So we pretty much have treated in the 7 or 8 years we've been there, we've treated 2/3 of the people in the town, right? What do you think wins? What do you think media type they're using? It's direct mail. I mean, that is by far, we just own the mailbox for our cold traffic marketing. Now, we did Facebook at one time, that went really well. But that is a different market than, let's say, Hershey, where we have a more affluent, more densely populated, and there it's going to be text, Facebook, Instagram, right? They're the media types that we're going to use right there. So realize that every practice is different, but you want to have a good, and again, in all of our clinics, we use all media, but we emphasize where we double down is based on this market message media match idea. I did the AI demonstration on messaging earlier. There's a lot that we could do there. The second big principle, though, is direct response marketing. And this is marketing that leads to a response. Now, every marketer I've ever hired who has a marketing degree at Manning Gilbert, they try to come in and do branding right away. And that's where we're associate the logo with some sort of emotion or feeling, right? And that's great for Nike or Coca-Cola or Starbucks, but you and I just don't have the budgets to do branding, right? If you look at your local healthcare system and the marketing they're running, I'm sure they're running a billboard with a 71-year-old man golfing saying, "Get back in the game," or something like that. That's the typical, right, billboard. That is a branding. You and I cannot afford to do that. That doesn't work. It's not trackable. We want to use direct response so that we can be scientific and create predictable systems moving forward, right? We want to know where our patients are coming from. And direct response, it's different from branding. However, when you do direct response marketing, you also get a branding response. For example, in the last 10 years, we have run 2 workshops per month for each of our clinics, right? We have hundreds of thousands of dollars of online ads that have gone with that. Same thing with, all of the marketing, and this is to the cold market. And this is kind of surreal that this happened recently, but in one day, I had 3 patients reach out. They weren't responding to email, but people that had a personal connection to me through Facebook, or they had my cell phone number, reached out, said, "Hey, I live over here in Camp Hill. I have this problem. Who should I see?" Right? So we get this amazing branding effect. And all of those people, what they see is they see a video online, or they see a video on Facebook, and they're just reminded, right? So not only do we get all the people that are coming through when we're advertising on those channels, we also get like gentle reminders from people who already are warm to us, right? So we get that branding response where it's like, "Hey, you're the practice that does really well with shoulders or pelvic floor or balance and dizziness," or whatever that might be. When we do direct response the right way, we also get the benefit of that branding response, and that lifts all of our channels. And in the end, when we use direct response marketing, there are 3 things that we can offer. We can offer a product, what would be an example of a product that you could offer in your advertising? You can type it in the chat. Just want to make sure. Still awake here. You're going strong, by the way. This is great. What would be a product we could give away in our advertising? Ice pack. Perfect, Danielle. Great. Ice pack, absolutely something we could give away. You could do other suggestions I've heard are stress balls, TheraBand, branded Yeti mugs, and other swag. But yeah, exactly right, Melissa. Cool. So that we can give away a product. Second thing we can give away is a service. So I know you can't see this, but right on the other side of this camera, there is another conservative care provider. And for 15 years in the front of his building, he's had a huge sign that says $39 massage. Now, what he's doing there is giving a free or discounted product or service so that when they come in, he converts them over, those patients, to another type of care. We could do that, right? You could give away, and by the way, I don't recommend doing it. It creates the Groupon effect. We've had tons of podcasts about this as well, but even like a free service, like a free screen, great to give away to our patients. I would only do it once or twice a year if you're going to do it to cold traffic marketing. It's the wrong type of offer to do month after month after month. The third thing that we can do is information. Guess which one of those wins every single time? Product, service, or information? Right, it's info, easy. Right, so information, patient education, same thing. We will always want to lead with helpful information your target market will find valuable, not what you find valuable, right? So this is where you can use AI, these language models. I mean, I've done a deep dive into this, but I will use Google Gemini to rake 5-star Google reviews of transformations of whatever it is that I'm talking about. So if I'm writing something with Garrett and NewFit for a NewFit campaign to be used in Breakthrough, I will pull 40 testimonials from 5-star Google reviews of people who use NewFit and the transformation that they had, because I want to capture, remember, I want to enter into the conversation already going on in that potential patient's mind. So where do I get that? I get that from other patients, right? And then what I think about is what kind of questions are those patients asking when they're in pain, right? And then I can look that up with AI, and then that helps me create very valuable content. So years ago, what I used to do was take a notebook piece of paper just like this, rip it out Monday morning. It was always yellow at that time. Used to use yellow legal pads, but yeah. And then what I would do is during the week is every time a patient would ask a question, I would just write that question down. And what happens is patients are asking you all the time. It's unconscious competence, though. You're not really thinking about it. You just answer the question. That information is very valuable. That is just gold. I mean, some of the, what I would do is, so I would do that on Monday morning. Every Friday, I had a 1-hour time block from 1 to 2 Friday afternoon, and I would film on an old flip camera, which had a single red button and a USB port, but I would film these videos and I would post them on YouTube for patients, but I just made them public. I think the last time I checked, a little over a year ago, I had 25 million views on those videos, right? And we've had people fly in from California, Kentucky, Idaho, Florida. I treated somebody from India, Calcutta, India, 8,000 miles away, right? Treated people from all over the country, all over the world, because of these little 3 to 5 minute explainer videos. And it's because I just used lay language, right? I knew enough to not talk like I was talking with another therapist. I knew enough to talk like I was talking with my family. Like if you've ever given, advice over Thanksgiving dinner to, your uncle or aunt, that is the type of conversation you'd want to have on these videos. So I would do that. You can do an explainer video. You can also do it in report format, book format, workshop, etc. By the way, AI has made all of this very easy to do. I mean, you can do scripting for an explainer video, and my single favorite exercise for back pain while sleeping. I mean, we can get a script for that in seconds, right? And you could probably do it off the top of your head. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. As well, but information wins every single time. All right, I'm going to pause here. I'll open this up for any questions that you have about marketing. What questions do you have on marketing and the 3 pillars? All right, not seeing any questions come in. So we'll wrap this up here in marketing. Again, for those of you who've already booked a discovery call with Morgan, congratulations, that's great. Again, to take advantage of our virtual summit offer, you're going to go to getbreakthrough.com/growth, and that is to get the email and text campaigns with the click of a button, Emily, and the AI conversion agent and everything else that we talked about here. Schedule a call first with Morgan. That's a 15-minute call at skipbreakthrough.com/growth. Deanna has a good question a few slides back regarding the conversation that's already going on inside their head, how we communicate. Great advice. I got that from somebody else. That's Robert Collier, I believe in 1932. So not a new concept. It's been around for thousands of years. All right, Stephen has a good question here. Someone gave you $2,000 to spend on marketing. Where do you spend it to add the most value? So I would start, Stephen, with this question, which is, what does this look like today? And I get to do this all the time. So I not only hear from owners who are crushing it, I also learn from owners that want to get better. And I typically start with this. So what are you doing today? What are you doing to market to your patient list? If they're not doing email, if they're not doing text, if they're not doing some, direct mail or some sort of communication to their patient list, that is the lowest hanging fruit. It's the lowest conversion. It's the least expensive, the least time investment. You have to start there. Most owners that I talk with that are struggling with unfilled schedules, what are you doing with your patient list? Nothing, right? Or I send out an email every other month. And then when we look at it, it's really 4 times a year. So maybe once a quarter, and it's painful for them to mail out. That's not frequent enough. So I would do the investment there first, like figure out a way, should be very low expense, to get something going out to your patient list where you're getting normal reactivations. I mean, we average about 400 new patients a month. 200 new patients a month are just from our list of 30,000 patients that we're reactivating. Right? So, I mean, that really drives the growth of our more experienced practitioners as those repeats coming back in. The next thing I would look at is, are clinicians asking for word of mouth referrals after a treatment win? We teach a very simple 3-step process, and that's free to do. It's the work to get it in. Third thing, what are we doing for referral sources? We thank our referral sources. We used to have a huge marketing push, but I kind of decreased my referral source marketing spend over time. I mean, it's about 5% of what we do now, but we do a once a month direct mail piece to clinicians in our area, and we thank our referral sources with a handwritten letter. Pretty simple. Again, very small. It's less than 10% of our new patient flow and less than 5% of our budget. But if they're not doing that, okay, so you have no patient list. So brand new, $2,000, what am I doing? This is what we do in new clinics. Would that help you out the best? So when we open a new clinic, what do we do? Great. So I'll give you the Dolphin example. Dolphin, it was an interesting, so this was 2017, 2018. There was a clinic in that building for 8.5 years. That was there for 8.5 years prior to us opening up. And there was probably a 1 year, 18-month gap maybe. And I knew that within that office, the most they had ever done was 73 visits because I had, well, I can't really tell you without violating HIPAA. I knew somebody that had worked in that office. So 73 visits, highest ever. When Dan went up there, we did 2 things. 6 weeks before we opened, we did Facebook advertising, so Meta advertising, and later added Instagram. But Facebook advertising, we drove to 2 workshops before we opened. I believe we opened September 8th. And those workshops were 3 months before we opened and 3 weeks before we opened and 1 week before we opened in August. So what happened is we drew people into a workshop and Dan walked into like 20 new patients in the first week or 2, right? We also did some direct mail, limited direct mail to complement that. And that cost for us to run that was under $2,000. And what ended up happening from that is we went 0 to, I believe it was 107 visits in a week. It was Dan plus we added a second full-time clinician in the first, and I think they did that in 6 weeks, maybe 7. So they went 0 to 100 really, really quick. That is the way to do it. We then took that model, we did the same thing in Camp Hill, January 27th, I believe, of 2020, did the same thing there. And then we went down to Shrewsbury. That was our COVID clinic. We opened it March 9th. COVID hit March 13th of 2020. So we opened the same week that COVID shut down Pennsylvania. There we opened up with 18 new patients in week number 1 by doing the same exact formula. And we did the same exact thing in Hershey. So very reproducible. By $2,000, I would do a little bit in very strategic direct mail. Let's say like $400, and 80% of that money, $1,600, I would put into online advertising. And I mean, I'm a fan of the workshop. It's what wins long term. It's you want to spend time with cold traffic before they sign up for your appointment. That helps, Stephen? Great. Cool. So Melissa, when you ran your explainer videos, what was your target audience and how did people see it in other countries? What was your daily budget for that? So Melissa, this is going to blow your mind. I get paid. So I get a Google check. I don't know what the total is. I think the most that ever was, I didn't do it for that intention. What I did in 2010, 2011, I went to this friend gave me a ticket to see Jeffrey Gitomer. And Jeffrey Gitomer kind of did the same thing that I was thinking about this, like the Relic, like all the time that I spent writing copy and how like AI just does it. It's better than me and it does it way faster than me. Although I still have to like go and edit it, but it 10x, 20x my productivity. That's what happened with me seeing Jeffrey Gitomer. And here was a guy who was syndicated. He was a writer, business column writer, syndicated in over 100 papers, newspapers nationally. And this is again 2010, 2011. He was like, hey, there's this thing coming and you need to adapt now or like it's not going to go well for you in your career. And he said, I am paid to write. I am telling you, there's this thing called YouTube. If you don't embrace it, and this is like right as YouTube was being like acquired by Google, he was like, the world is going to video information. If you don't master this media, you are going to be in trouble. So I just was like, what do I possibly do? And I did these explainer videos and posted them for patients. So like the one that I really started to get traction on was somebody said, hey, they had herniated disc and sciatica. Listen, you gave me like 20 exercises. I'm graduating today. My pain's gone. This is great. High five. Took a picture with them, gave them a t-shirt, everything. But I'm not going to do these exercises the rest of my life. If this comes back again, what are the 3 that I should go to? That became a video. And I think it's called the top 3 exercises for pinched nerve and sciatica. I believe that video alone has 5 million views. I made it for the patient and I just posted it. I think to date, best year I ever had was 13K, I think Google gave me. And then overall it might be around like $90,000 in lifetime, but I didn't pay anything to post them on YouTube. That was free. By the way, I would not recommend doing that to grow a practice. It's irrelevant. It's not really, it's not going to help you grow your practice nearly as much as like, running meta ads, or you can do organic social, but then like I would put money behind that. On something like on Facebook, you're not going to put stuff organically on Facebook or Instagram today and have it do what you want it to do. YouTube at the time when I was posting wasn't even monetized. So I had a lot of traction, right? I wasn't trying to make money from it and I wasn't paying to put them up, but I just did it to be helpful to patients. And then they started sharing it and then it's open to the world. And there's no limitations on it. Cool. So great question. Deanna, we have always rotated our workshops every 2 weeks, going back and forth by the Between rotator cuff, knee, and low back pain, we just went down to alternating only shoulder and knee because low back pain wasn't bringing patients. Do you recommend we do one workshop a month? Deanna, that is a great question. So we're testing this now. The Facebook algorithm seems to favor 3 to 4 weeks between events. I'm with you. I've always done 2 a month. There's a lot of competition in back pain, rotator cuff, pelvic floor. There's a few others that are more blue ocean strategy where there's not a lot of competitors there. But I would just talk with your coach about that. We are testing in one clinic right now a 4-week cycle. So, we just started that this month. So don't really have anything updated for you other than, preliminary results across all practices that work with Breakthrough are those that do once a month, they get a little bit lower CPL for sure. More important than that, I would think about doing working with your coach and filming video ads like Sarah showed with Proof PT. Video ads greatly reduce CPL. And we can run generic ones for you, but the best ones are, going to be your chip filming an iPhone video and getting that over to the team. Great. Awesome. Anyhow, I hope this day was absolutely amazing for you. Huge honor for me to be here and to be with you and serve private practice. Awesome stuff. Just as one more reminder, I'd be remiss if I didn't share this. Getbreakthrough.com/growth to schedule your call with Morgan and see what this can look like in your practice. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. See ya.